Opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. We're going to move on to administrative services bond consent items. Mr. Warmers?
We need a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Well, excuse me. Apologize again. I didn't get a chance to fill out a card.
Come on up.
This is really the item that I wanted to speak on, 19.2 through 19.7, or, yes. Is that okay?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve
Yeah.
19.1.
Well, I know we can take discussion after we made the motion.
Okay, you want to approve them all?
Yes.
Yeah, I approve.
Okay.
I move to approve.
Okay, do we need a second yours, or did we already get a second?
No, we need a
Okay, I'll
second.
second that.
Okay, discussion. Mr. Paulson.
Okay. All right, once again, good to be here. So, again, for those that may not know, I also was a candidate in the fairly recent election for the school board. And the issue of how the school district and the method they use to bid out the projects for the bonds, it was one issue that I raised. And by the way, Mr. Lee, Mrs. Reagans, congratulations on winning the election. I don't know if I have publicly kind of congratulated you for that. So anyway, this obviously has been something that's been on my mind for quite some time. And my question here today on these particular items is that as I was raising that issue, the response I got from a number of folks, some here, many people maybe even on the Bond Oversight Committee, would tell me, well, the one good thing about doing the contracting this way is that we don't have to see a lot of change orders from Balfour Beatty. Because of the way that it's set up, they have a lot of these kind of, maximum price type contracts. And so as I've been following along, not only today, but in several other meetings previously, there's been kind of a number of these change orders to where it's seeming like a lot from my perspective. And so I guess ultimately the question comment is, are we being kind of nickel and dimed by the contractor? And the next question would be, that I would be more interested in actually, is when the contractor is coming back to the district and saying, we need more money for X project, because that's basically what's happening. What type of expertise is the professionals in this room relying upon to determine whether that additional price is reasonable? I guess, who is that expert that determines that?
Do we fall on Dr. Manning or Dr. Stable to answer those questions?
The reason, Mr. Paulson, you see change orders is these particular schools are not lease back.
They were bid projects.
They are all bid projects.
Okay. It's difficult to determine that from the information that's provided. It doesn't seem like there's a lot here a lot of times when you look
You
at
don't
these.
see change orders for lease back projects.
Okay.
In fact, I'll come in here and I'll solve this a little bit.
Mr. Lee?
I think we were pretty good about, in fact, I think you brought it up prior to you running for city council that Jefferson was pulled back from lease back and went to a bid process, actually delayed the project some. Same with all these are all middle schools. And this is the typical process that you would see would be that it's bid, they find something that's unforeseen. Mr. Wormers will show up a piece of burnt wall, show the picture, there we go, see there's the burnt wall. So when they redid Magruder, looked at the walls, that's the way they looked, right? They started to work on the wall, and behind the wall was a wall that was burned up 30 years ago, and they just threw drywall over it. So those are the kinds of things you see for change orders, or you bid a project one way, and there's a concrete wall there instead of a drywall wall, so you have to make an adjustment, or those kinds of things. Those are the kinds of change orders you see in what they call, this prime or low bid kind of stuff. And then conversely, in lease back, some of that's built into that process, so you don't see as many.
Okay, I'm not here to dispute what is said. I'm, again, just kind of trying to gain perspective from the folks in the room.
In fact, the budgets for them are budgeted for change orders. I mean, that's part of the process of going through this.
And there will be, under lease back, there's certain, like the burnt wall is an example. That was a lease back, and they found something that we couldn't predict. It was not part of the contract. But looking at these percentages, none of these are out of line for general contract work. One of the reasons I was going to I pushed the button as soon as it started, because I wanted Mr. Rondo to come up here and actually kind of field some of the, I'm curious about I think it was Magruder, Casimir, because that was the biggest percentage change. I kind of wanted him to touch on what these change orders are about and why they came about. Again, this is all part of using a bid process as opposed to a lease back. But I wanted to get kind of a feel for what this is going on, because the documentation we get doesn't cover all that. And Mr. Rondo would be able to field a lot of those questions. So I understand where you're going, and frankly, I support it. I don't consider these numbers exorbitantly out of line. I mean, the largest one is 6.86%. That's well within any kind of range in construction work. I've got a lot of experience doing that, so.
So I appreciate the feedback. Thank you very much. Nobody has spoke to kind of the second question I raised, which is, who is the expert that the district relies on to determine if these additional charges are reasonable? Because my assumption here, based on kind of my research I've done, which honestly may or may not be accurate, but I believe the district hires Balfour Beatty as a consultant, right? Pays them $1 million a year or so, roughly. And I assume that they're the expert.
Correct.
And so my question is that accurate? And is Balfour Beatty really determining whether these, increased charges on these projects that are incurred by Balfour Beatty, are they the ones determining whether those are reasonable costs? And it sounds like, that is the case.
Okay, I'd like to answer that. When you're asking who makes the recommendation for these change orders to be put on the agenda, I do. And that's after a review by the architect of record, because the architect of record has to sign off that, number one, this is an appropriate additional cost that is outside of what we call scope. These items were not part of the original bid. That's what a change order means. They're not part of the original bid. We set up in every one of our projects, we have a matrix that says these are the things that are going to be completed at our modernization projects. Now, there we will find, as was mentioned, the fire, the wall, we found, you go inside buildings that were built maybe 40 to 50 years ago, and you're going to find some things in there that were not known at the time. That's why in most construction projects that I've been involved in my 40-some-odd years, 10% for modernization isn't a bad amount to have for change order contingencies. For these projects, we have set up for 5% contingencies as we move along for these three schools. But you're asking who does the approval? First of all, the architect has to sign off. Then Balfour Beatty and their construction management firm, they're the ones that are the CM on the site for us. They review it. Then my maintenance director reviews it, then I'm the final one that signs off. So there are actually 4 different review processes this is going through before it shows up on agenda.
So, really appreciate it. I appreciate the discussion and the response. You probably don't even have to respond to me, and I really appreciate that you have. My comment would be, it would seem like there's still this conflict of interest that has been discussed. Because as a consultant, as you mentioned, that at some point in the process, Balfour Beatty is looking at these projects and kind of providing some sort of stamp of approval. Yeah, we believe that's a reasonable cost. And so my suggestion would be, at what point does the district move to an independent consultant that's not involved at all with any of the bidding on these projects, instead of Balfour Beatty as kind of the district's
Beyond the architect,
consultant?
beyond our internal people, beyond Dr. Stabler, you want something beyond that still? Balfour Beatty is years ago, 20 years ago, you had a general contractor that sat on your side of the table, and you had to trust him. And Balfour Beatty is a construction management firm doing the exact same role, but they're not doing it independently. The architect is an independent firm that works outside of them. Dr. Stabler works outside of them. Our internal people work outside of them. We have checks and balances all the way through this whole process. You just don't trust Balfour Beatty. I do.
Yeah, well, that's true, because they're also
I wanna call it what
bidding
it
and
is, but-
working on these projects, so
Yeah, but I do.
I
I've
don't
done all
think.
these sites.
Yeah. It's not that I have kind of ill will against Balfour Beatty, I just think they're kind of put in a difficult position where there's a conflict of interest. That's my concern, and it raises the concern that their judgment may be their judgment may be biased. That's my concern. So, I've spoken to, I'll just say it again, when it comes up for whether they should be the consultant, why don't we start looking at maybe someone that's completely outside of the process,
It costs money.
right? So that's just my
Yeah.
Mr. Steffen.
suggestion.
Well, if you have an independent architect and his staff, or her staff, going over it, and then you have a construction management company, whether it's Balfour Beatty or any other construction management company that is being paid to look out for the district's interest because of all the subcontractors that are under there, because it's not lease-back. So simply, they're tasked by, rules and such to look out for our interest, and you have, if you want to hire another group, you're hiring another Balfour Beatty. You're just not calling him Balfour Beatty anymore. You're calling him, construction management firm B, which is still going to be paid for, and they're still going to be charged with looking out for the district's interest, right? Okay, so that's just the role of that. I don't, it's the same, it would be the same person, but just a different name. I mean, they would have the same role.
Mr. Warmers?
I think I'm right.
I'd still love to have Mr. Rondo come up here and kind of touch over the couple of these change orders, exactly what's going on in them. And then, frankly, Clint, I'd more than willing to sit down another time when we're not tying up
Yeah,
everybody's
I
time and
understand.
talk about this.
I don't have anything else on this topic.
Yeah, like I said, I just want to have Don run down kind of what we're doing on some of these change orders, so I know what they are. The documentation doesn't really cover it. So-
Mr. Paulson, we gave you 3 minutes, so
Yeah,
it's past the 3 minutes.
Yeah, can I ask one quick question? And I apologize again, I wasn't here at the beginning, I'm here tonight. It's hard for me to make it to these meetings. I know you guys have a comment period at the end. Is there an allowance? I know at City Council, they allow the public to comment at the end of the meeting. I just had a 30-second comment that's on a non-agenda item. Can I be allowed to, it's a 30-second comment at the end, is that,
We do it at the beginning of the meeting.
We do it at the beginning.
okay? Can we make an allowance today, or is there, it's literally 30 seconds. If not, I understand, but it's just a request I'm making.
You're given 30 seconds.
I know,
We give you 30 seconds.
go for it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, now? Okay,
Yes.
cool, awesome, all right.
The most entertainment we've
So,
had in months.
yeah, okay, sorry.
That's okay, don't apologize.
So, it's just a comment, I didn't know if the school board knew the issue, and I received a communication as a parent that there's going to be a meeting in March about the roughly $10 million that is one-time funding that the district is going to be able to spend. And there was a survey done for soliciting input, and I had submitted a public records request to get the responses to that survey, so I could try and communicate with people about some of the ideas that people had. And I got a response back. The district had solicited their general counsel or outside counsel and basically told me they would not provide it. I just wanted to ask if maybe someone up there could see if now that some more time has passed, because it's been a couple months since I submitted the request, if that request could be fulfilled.
Well, that's your
That's
that's your comment, I think, and
That's your
staff can
comment.
look at
Dr.
that.
Stabler?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have been
got it.
responding, and I'm the one that responded to you through our council. The issue is public records requests require me to produce a document that is complete, is a record. There is no record yet, because we probably had 200 different ideas that were put online, that Ms. Kahn had online, and I'm going through those. Those will be provided. Every one of the items will be provided to the public so they can see it. But there is no one record yet, and that's, if you read the Public Records Act, that's what it says. I need to provide you a record that I currently have. There is no official record yet, and that's why you haven't gotten a copy of it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Paulson.
for allowing me to do that 30 seconds.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. Okay. I believe Mr. Warmers would like to call on Mr. Rondo.
You were hoping, weren't you, Don?
Oh, yes.
Actually, all I'm looking for is, can you kind of recap what we're doing with some of these? I mean, is it electrical, is it, I don't have a feel for where we're getting change orders from. They're relatively small, the only one that was large was Casimir, but what are these?
I'm afraid I don't have the detail in front of me, so
Then I'll
I
bother you.
don't know for sure. I know we had a couple of framing issues that came up where we stripped down the walls and found some unexpected situations where we had to add hold downs and things like that, but I don't know every item
I'll
specifically.
bother you via email then. I'm trying to get a handle on, because being as we're no longer doing lease back, all that, I'm assuming, let me phrase the question properly. I'm assuming most of these would have fallen under the lease back contingency part of the way you guys do stuff.
Absolutely.
It was when you found 300 feet of asbestos pipe at Madrona, or found a burnt wall, which as Mr. Lee points out, I still have a piece of, those kind of things fall outside of the lease back. But these small kind of things usually are covered by lease back. We're doing something different, so I'm curious what we're dealing with. So
Yes.
I'll bother you via email. I was wondering if you knew it off the top of your head, but that's okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
I would also like to know the detail, if you can share that with
Just
the rest of our board of...
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll copy everybody when I send the note to you, and you can copy back to all of us. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, no more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, thank you. We're going to